If you've ever thought about moving to Australia, whether it's on working holiday visa as a student or just for a few years to experience something different, you've probably wondered, is it worth it? What are the pros and cons? Then this video is for you. I lived in Australia on and off for about 7 years, and honestly, it was the best decisions I've ever made. But moving to the other side of the world isn't always as perfect as it looks on Instagram, as it looks on social media. There are some incredible things about living there, but there are also sacrifices that a lot of people don't really talk about. So in today's video, I wanted to share some pros and cons of moving to Australia from my own experience. Of course, everyone's experiences will be different, but if you're thinking about making the move, hopefully this gives you a bit better idea of what moving abroad really is like. So let's start with the positives. Firstly, visa opportunities and travel opportunities. One thing Australia does really well is giving people the opportunity to actually experience the country while earning money at the same time. For many nationalities, there are working holiday visas that let you live and work there and travel around Australia for a certain amount of time if you meet the requirements for that. I honestly think that this is one of the best opportunities you can have when you're still young, when you feel lost in life and don't know what to do after school, and you just want to travel and see the world. You can spend a few months working, save up some money, and then travel around Australia or even fly somewhere else, like travel to Thailand, travel to Vietnam, travel to Malaysia, wherever you want to, before you're going back home, or maybe you're gonna do another year to save up and travel even more. Because Australia is so far away from Europe, it does make it much easier to explore that part of the world as well while you're in Australia, while you're working and saving up some money there. Because normally it would be very expensive and much longer to fly from Europe, for example. For me, it wasn't just about moving to Australia, it was about experiences and wanting to travel and see the world a bit more. It opened the doors to seeing so much more of the world and different cultures than I ever expected. And it's something that otherwise I probably would have never had a chance to explore and to see and experience. The lifestyle. Of course, I have to mention the lifestyle. Yes, Australia has beautiful weather, warm weather, but I think what really makes the difference is what people do because of that weather. People spend so much time outside. People spend so much more time relaxing and enjoying their days. Before work, after work, on weekends, going for walks, going for picnics, going surfing, sitting at the beach, going to markets, running clubs, outdoor cinemas, community events, sports events. There is always something going on. And you will never get bored. Coming from Estonia, where most of the events are happening during summertime, which is only 3 months. So it definitely felt different. And life just doesn't stop after work. Like, that's actually just the start. People actually go outside and enjoy it after work. And I think that has a really positive impact on your quality of life and on people's happiness. Opportunities. Another thing I really liked was how many opportunities there are, especially if you're coming as a backpacker or someone who just wants to experience different jobs. Because in Australia, there is a thing called casual worker, which means you're hired with no firm commitments to ongoing work. Yes, you might have less job security and get less hours, but it's a great way to find job quickly or leave the job quickly if you want to go and travel. And you can work as little or as much as you want sometimes. So you find jobs in retail, hospitality, fruit picking, warehouses, farm work. There are a lot of different ways to earn money while figuring out what you actually want to do. What's your next plan? Or, yeah, just save up some money quickly. And because casual work is so common, changing jobs doesn't feel as scary. You're not stuck somewhere if something doesn't feel right or if you don't match with the people there. You can just quit. You can just leave the same day or the next day, basically. But it gives you a chance to try so many different things. The country is so huge and there are far more opportunities than in my country, for example. We don't have such thing like a casual worker. Like you have to apply for a job, and sometimes it can take a month to get the jobs. So I think this is actually a really good thing. And I would have never had the experience to try farm work, like ever. But actually, farm work while I was in Australia was one of the hardest, but also the most fun and memorable time I had in Australia. I don't know, it was really different. Like it was such a different experience than in any other job. So definitely worth it, even though it can be really, really hard. Outside of work, there are opportunities everywhere as well. Like maybe you've always wanted to learn how to surf. Maybe you wanted to go scuba diving. Maybe you wanted to become barista and you can learn that. Maybe you wanted to become a yoga teacher. See whales, camp under the stars, road trip along the coast. Australia gives you so many different things to try that you may never have experienced otherwise. At least in my eyes, it changes you. I think this is probably the biggest reason I would recommend anyone to move abroad if they want to, if it's their dream. Nothing makes you grow as a person quite like leaving your home country and leaving your comfort zone. When you move abroad, suddenly you're responsible for everything. You have to grow up quite quickly, and you don't have like anyone else to ask something, or you can't drive to your mom, ask for help, or anything like that. You have to do everything on your own. Finding somewhere to live, finding work, opening a bank account, meeting new people, learning how things work in a foreign country. And it can feel very overwhelming at first, and very scary and uncomfortable. But little by little, you do realize how much more capable you actually are than you thought. You're so much stronger than you can imagine. And you really do learn a lot about yourself as well. Living abroad really changes how you actually see the world and your life and your lifestyle as well. You meet people from different cultures, you hear different opinions, and it really broadens your perspective on life. I know that I definitely wouldn't be the same person if I wouldn't have left, if I wouldn't have moved abroad. And I am forever grateful that I had the courage to do that, because it really did give me confidence, it gave me independence and memories that I'll have for the rest of my life. Quality of life. This one is different for everyone because it depends on so many different things. It depends on your job, it depends where you live, your income, and what kind of lifestyle you want. But personally, I felt like my quality of life was better there. Even when I was working a normal retail job and renting a small place, I still felt like I could enjoy life too a bit more. Of course, Australia isn't cheap, absolutely not. But I felt like there was a better balance between working and actually living as well. And some of my favorite memories and activities and stuff that I did didn't cost much at all, like watching sunsets, coastal walks, beach days, national parks, weekend markets. And those became like the simple everyday things, part of everyday life. And I think that Australian lifestyle is something why so many people fall in love with Australia. Now, as amazing as Australia is and how exciting it is to move abroad, there are always some downsides. Like with everything in life, nothing in life comes easy. So here are some cons as well. It's far away. This is probably the biggest con, that Australia is really far from home. It's really far from Europe because Estonia is my home. So it takes 24 hours to fly back home. And after the flight, you're just a zombie. At least I was. I don't like flying and it's exhausting. At first, when I moved abroad, I didn't even think about the distance, like how hard it could be, because I was just excited more about this journey, new chapter, new exciting adventure. But yeah, then you get the homesickness and you see life happening without you. The birthdays, the Christmases, the weddings, the funerals. You see your parents getting older. You see your nephews and nieces growing up without you. And sometimes you just wish you could go home for the weekend just to get hugs from family after you've had a bad week. But you can't because it's so far away and it's so expensive. So yeah, there are a lot of sacrifices you have to make for making your moving abroad dream a reality. Going home isn't just a quick trip from Australia. It's a trip that takes time, it takes money, and it takes planning. And it also can be emotionally very difficult. For me, it only got difficult as the years went on. Like every year, it got a little bit harder to be away from family. And visiting home can also be mentally exhausting because you arrive, you want to see everybody, you want try to do all the things in such a short period of time, and the emotions just run high for that whole time. But once you get on that plane back to Australia, you're bawling your eyes off and you question all of your life's decisions. Is it the wrong thing to do? Should I just move back home? Why am I doing this? Why did I even move to Australia? So, yeah, that can be hard. Another thing that is hard, renting is hard. Finding somewhere to live can be honestly a bit stressful. Well, actually, a lot of stressful, especially in the bigger cities. When you first arrive, there's a good chance that you have to share a place with someone, that you have to rent out a room in an apartment with three or two other people who live in the same apartment. And that's actually very normal in Australia. But even shared accommodation can be really expensive. And I've seen some weird ads where the room is just pretty much looks like a shoebox and you barely have any space. And even for that, people ask for hundreds of dollars per week. So, yeah, renting is hard. And eventually, if you want to rent your own place, that's another challenge. And I don't believe that it has gotten any better in the recent years. But correct me if I'm wrong. Starting over. Moving abroad sounds exciting, and it is exciting, but starting your life from zero is exhausting. You have to organize everything, like find work, find somewhere to live, get a new phone number, open a bank account, find a doctor, learn the public transport, learn the local habits, figure out how everything works alone, without knowing anyone, without anyone's help, without friends or support. And it can be extremely hard, and you will start question like, why did you even do this? Like, it would be so much easier back home, and so on. For me, the first few months were the hardest. Actually, I just felt so out of my comfort zone, not like myself for that period of time. And I had no one to share this with. Like, I didn't want to tell my family, oh yeah, I'm not having the best time in my first few months, I'm questioning everything. Like, you don't want to worry them. So you're kind of going through everything alone. But once I got over the hard times, everything started to get better and better, and until I fell in love with the place. But you might have to start over again, once you move back home. Long commutes. If you're living in one of the bigger cities like Sydney, commuting can be a little bit pain. Not everyone can live close to their work. For me, getting to work often took an hour each way, and sometimes even longer depending on the traffic. But the thing is, that hour, like, it became normal. Like before, an hour seemed such a long time, but in Sydney, it felt like normal. And honestly, sitting on a bus while looking out at the Sydney Harbour or the Opera House wasn't the worst commute in the world. It was actually kind of amazing, and every time I was really grateful that I got to experience that I got to experience living in such a city. Like, it did feel very unreal at times. Australia changes you forever. It's one of the best and, in a way, not the best things about moving to Australia, because your mindset, your lifestyle, your perspective, but also your expectations will change. It will forever have an impact on your life, like the kind of impact you can't even imagine before you go. And most likely you will fall in love with the place. You will fall in love with Australia. I barely know anyone who hasn't loved it there. So now your heart will always be in two different places. Like when you're in Australia, you miss home, your family, your friends. And when you're back at home, you will always miss Australia. I think that's something a lot of people who have lived abroad really understand, that it will never be the same. You will always miss the other place, and you just can't have both. You can't live in both worlds. And you might never completely feel like you belong in just one place anymore. And that can be emotionally hard. I've been home now for 2 years and I feel exactly that. While living in Australia, I always struggled with that. Like, while I was in Australia, I really missed home. And now that I'm home, I always miss Australia. So, yeah, I feel like my heart will forever be broken in a way. So, those were some of the pros and cons of moving to Australia based on my own experiences and thoughts after living there almost 7 years. So, yeah, moving abroad was one of the best decisions I ever made and very rewarding, but it was also one of the hardest things I've ever done. Would I do it all again? Well, I actually already did it twice. And lately, I feel like maybe I would do it again, but I'm not sure. I would love to know your thoughts in the comments as well. So, if you've lived in Australia, what would you add to this list? And if you're thinking about moving there, what's the thing you're most excited and what's the thing you're most nervous about or worried about? Let me know. Don't forget to subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.